Now we'll move a further step forward and see how to create a Spring Boot REST API and how to test it. Now we are moving forward. We are not working on a simple Java program. We are going to create a REST API itself. So what was the REST API we are going to look at it? That is Loan Account Management API. So this Loan Account Management API should manages the loans. So it has users and also it has loans, and each user has a different kind of loan, but one loan is belongs to only one user. So this kind of scenario I'm taking. So it's a loan management system API, and I'm going to create a REST API using GitHub Copilot. So the first thing we are going to do is design and planning using Copilot. So we'll see how Copilot will help on the designing and planning. So open our VS Code and we'll try to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this folder, right? So I'm going to file and close folder. We'll close this folder and it will give a fresh page to me. Now here I'm going to create a new Java project. So go to Explorer and here it will ask create a Java project. Click on the Java project. Here I'm going to create a project that is Spring Boot. So type Spring Boot. So here I'm selecting a Maven project and Spring Boot version, select the latest stable version and Java, and the group ID I'm going to select as github.copilot, and the artifact ID I'm going to give loan API. Okay, this is my artifact ID loan API, and I'm going to create a jar, and finally I'm going to use in Java version 17. Okay, and here we need to select some dependencies. So what I'm going to select is Spring Web and Spring Data API. So type Spring Web and Spring Data JPA for SQL. Okay, and H2 database for internal databasing. So yeah, as of now, these three is enough. I am clicking on OK, and it will ask to create a folder in my local system. So I'm going to my download folders and selecting this folder to generate the code. Okay, the code has been generated here as a loan API. So now I'm going to import that folder. So here click on open folder, go to downloads, click on loan API and select this folder, and you can able to see your folder has been loaded into this VS Code. And here you can able to see, right, your loan API has the source. Inside the source you have main, Java, and it created loan API application. This is your main class. Okay, so just ignore anything. So you have created your own application, that is Spring Boot application. Now we'll go with GitHub Copilot and ask it to design my loan API application. Okay, so go to GitHub chart, and here you can able to ask GitHub to do the task. So here I'm going to ask, I want an loan API, loan REST API to create. I am using Java as my backend programming language. Could you suggest me how can I proceed further in a step-by-step approach? I'm asking GitHub Copilot to do this thing for me. So when I click enter, you can able to see the GitHub Copilot is writing some step-by-step approach for the REST API for my loan, right? So what it is saying is create a loan model, and we can able to create a loan model and loan repository, create a loan repository and create a loan service and create a load controller and some endpoints like slash loans, and we can able to test our API using Postman, right, by sending HTTP requests. Okay, and remember to add necessary annotations like entity table and all. Okay, you can able to see, right, it is suggesting few things. One is models. So since I just given a vague requirement here, I said I need a loan REST API, so it's creating for only for loan, right? It's given a sample model for me which has ID, amount, interest rate, and duration, and it creates a repository for me. So it's just a JPA repository, and it's created a loan service for me, which uses the loan repository to call the card methods inside it, and it's created control for me. And inside the controller, we can able to define the get, post, put, delete endpoints. So, right, if you provide some information here, you can able to design and plan your application step by step. So here I have given some vague requirement, but in your case, if you have much more meaningful requirement, if you provide here, you will get most of the models and most of the steps you will get to know, and you can use those steps and create your REST API. Okay, so this is to show how you can plan and design your REST API using the GitHub Copilot. Now I'm going to back and see what is the next item. So first we're going to do is dependency setup and project and database. We have already created the project, so we need to use database. Okay, so what I'm going to ask GitHub Copilot is I don't have any database. So I would say I want to use H2 database for my REST API. So how to do that? So I'm asking this question. I want to use some in-memory database, that is H2 database for my REST API. So how to do that? So what it is saying, we'll see. So to use H2 database in your Spring Boot application, follow this step. So first thing, you have to add a H2 dependency and configure your H2 database in your application properties. You have to add these things in your application properties like data source.url, driver class name, which uses the H2, and we need to enable the H2 console also by using these properties. And you can able to access your H2 after running your application by using this URL. Okay, so create your entity class like loan. Spring Boot will automatically create tables in H2 database based on your entity classes. So it will automatically create an entity based on our classes, entity classes. So if you create any class with @entity, it will create an table inside the H2 until the application lives. Okay, so it's saying you have to enable these properties for H2. Okay, that is fine. I'm just uh, checking about the database connectivity. Since I don't have any local database setup, I'm going to use this in-memory database. So if you have your local database, you can use your local database. That is fine. Now we'll see what is the next step. Modeling using Copilot. No, fine. So we know what are the things we need to do. Now we'll start our modeling. So the first step which was given with Copilot is create a loan model, right? So, but my REST API is much more complex than this simple thing. So I'm going to ask create a model class for my loan which has fields like loan ID and amount and username and tenure. So these are fine for me. Okay, and also create getters, setters, and toString. So we'll see how it will create my a loan model. So here it's creating my loan model. If you observe, it's created a class with loan entity and it's created an ID with generated strategy also, right? So it knows every database or table has an ID column which was auto generated. So based on your requirement, you can customize these values, but as of now, I'm fine with it. It's created a getters and setters, and also it's created a toString method for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this thing and going to my code right here. I'm going to create an sub package inside my folder. So here I'm going to create a package called models. So inside the model, I'm going to create a class. So that is new file loan dot class, which okay loan dot java. So this loan model, we should paste what we have copied from GitHub console, and we are good. Okay, so here you can able to see, right, we have some issues with this package, so you can remove it. And here with java x, right, we'll go for the quick fix. So Here it is throwing some error with JavaX. I think you need to use Jakarta, which was the latest API for the persistence, right? Which has changed recently. So you have to use the Jakarta instead of JavaX. So just change all your JavaX things to Jakarta, and that's it. Your loan model is ready now. Okay, now I want another thing called users model. Those are the users which are mapped to loans. So I'm going to GitHub chart and I'm going to do some modifications my loan model, right? So I want an user field which was so with respect to the loan, right? An user can have multiple loans, but a loan should have only one user. So I would say so from loan perspective, we can say one loan belongs to only one customer, right? One loan belongs to only one customer. So one customer may have multiple loans. So we can say one to many, but from loan perspective, we can say many to one mapping. Okay, we'll see how it will create. So I want a user field which was many to one mapping. So we'll see. So what it is saying, first you need to create a user entity, and in the loan entity, you have to add user like it. That means loan is associated with one user, but each user can have many loans. So the user ID column in the loan table is a foreign key that references the ID column in the user table. So one thing you need to ensure is this user ID column we need to add in the loan to get that many to one mapping. So just copy this and add to your code like this. Okay, I'm just correcting the indices, and if you want to add characters for this method, you can use Control I add getters and setters for user, and GitHub Copilot will take care of adding those things and accept. Okay, so select it. Since we don't have user model, right, we are getting the error. So first we'll try to create the user model. Now, anyway, GitHub Copilot has given the user model for me, but I'm going to change this user model a little bit for my customization. So here I'm going to create a user model having user ID, username, and loan, user ID, username, and loans fields. And here loans is one to many mapping, and I need getters and setters also to string. I know this is not making sense, it is not grammatically correct, but the GitHub Copilot is going to understand whatever I given to it and it try to figure out the answer for me. Now you can able to see, right, it was improved. Now it's giving the Jakarta only, not JavaX. So user with ID with generation auto, and also it given the one to many mapping. So that's why we're getting a list of loans and all the getters address with to string. So I am good with it. I'm copying this thing and going to my file explorer, and here inside the model I'm going to create another file called user.java. So inside just paste your code like this. And if you have any errors, just try to rectify. But now the GitHub Copilot has given me the correct information. So we have loan, we have user. So we have successfully created both the models by using GitHub Copilot chart option. This is very cool, right? We have completed within few minutes. Now we'll go to our PPT. We'll see what is the other point. Repository creation using Copilot. Okay, so go to your chart and create your repositories now. So how can you create a repository? So ask GitHub Copilot create repos for my both loan and user classes. And once I click on enter, it is creating repositories for me. So for loan repository.java, it created this thing. For user repository.java, it's created this piece of code which extends the JPA repository, usually which provides us the card operations that you can able to perform card operations. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to copy this loan repository, going to my Explorer and going to create one more class called a repository. For that, click on this folder button and type repository, and inside this repository create your first class called loan repository, loan repository dot java. Okay, so you have created the file. Inside the file, just paste the copied code and save it. So just one thing you need to remember is it is showing some error with this loan thing. Just remove and import the proper loan, right? If you click on the quick fix, it will show the correct import and import that loan from the correct import. Okay, now you are good with your JPA repository, loan repository. So go to your GitHub chart and copy your user repository also, like the same way. Go to your Explorer and in your repository section itself, add a new file called user repository.java, and inside the user repository.java, you just paste your code and remove any unmeaningful imports and import proper user from the proper package. Okay, so both the repository creations also completed. So we have model, we have repository, and we'll go to the PowerPoint and we'll see the other step, that is controller creation using Copilot. So now we are going to create a controller using the Copilot. Okay, we'll go to the Copilot chart, and here we are going to create a loan API, and in turn it will fetch the users. So what I'm going to do is create controller class for my loan, and this will have APIs to create, update, and fetch. So if I give the prompt like create controller class for loan, and this will have APIs to create, update, and fetch, even delete. So here I'm going to remove this create, update, and fetch, delete the loans, and along with create, update, and fetch users. Okay, so these are the controller class for the loan, and in which we are going to do these kind of all things. So I'm going to submit this and see how GitHub Copilot understand make prompt, and it will create controller class for me. So it's created a controller, that is slash API slash loans, and it automated the loan repository, and we have this postman mapping, right, to create loan, which will call the loan repository.save, and it's taking an ID, and based on the ID it's get a loan detail and the ID, and it's going to update a loan, and we can able to get all the loans, and even we can find the loan by ID, right? Even you can delete the loans, right? You can based on loan ID, but you can able to see that it not included my, along with create and update and delete the loans. But yeah, we have given the prompt wrong way. So again, you just copy this and paste here. In the end, instead of loans, add user. Okay, we'll see now how it will create controller now. So now it's created a user controller. So here you can able to create users and delete user. So I thought of having the only one controller which will act as an one API, right? Loans, inside the loans you can able to do the thing, but GitHub suggesting the two controllers for me, and I would say that was a good approach, right? Two things. So I would suggest that also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy first the loan controller, copy the loan controller, and go to the Explorer and create a new class or new package called controllers inside your main package. So I'm going to call it as controllers, and inside the controllers I'm going to create a class called loan controller dot java. So here I'm going to replace this with the code generated by GitHub Copilot. And yeah, so it's throwing some issues, right? Just go to quick fix, and yeah, there will be some issue here. Just look at it. So here there was an issue. What is saying? The method else so a type of optional loan is not applicable for the arguments. I think we don't have this resource found exception class. Right? Just hover it and go to quick fix and create that class for us. And inside here just hover it and it will take care. The GitHub Copilot will understand what we're going to do and maybe it will provide something. So it's not providing anything. Okay. And we'll do one thing, we'll go to our GitHub Copilot and ask it to create this resource not found exception class for us. Okay. So now GitHub Copilot will create that resource not found exception class for us. So what this will do, it will take a message and it will call it super, that is nothing but runtime exception, and which has a response status which is HTTP not found. Even if you can pass message and calls also. Just copy this and paste it to your resource not found exception class. Okay, save it. So now your resource not found exception class is ready, and go back to your explorer and go to your loan controller, and you can able to see that your issue was resolved and all the APIs are intact. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to GitHub Copilot and going to copy my users controller also. Just copy the user controller, go back to your explorer, and inside the explorer create another controller called user controller. So I'm going to call it as user controller.java, and inside you can able to paste it and see you don't have any error now because you have already created resource not found exception. There is an user defined exception created through GitHub Copilot. And I think now we are ready, right? Our controllers are ready, models are ready, repository also ready. Okay, we'll go to our PowerPoint. We'll see what are the next step. Exception handling using Copilot. And since we have already get the exception handling, right? And if you want more exception handling, you can do one thing. Go to your GitHub Pilot, and do one thing. Just select your piece of code. For example, go to your repository itself, not repository controller itself, the loan controller. Select everything and add exception handling and enter. And it will read 1 to 50 lines and it will add an exception handling to our controller class. So if you see here, it is adding the exception handling to our controller classes, right? If there is any exception, it is creating this exceptional handler which will handle all the exceptions at once and which will send this response body with this exception message. Cool, right? Earlier that is missing here. So now we have to modify our loan controller by using this new class. Just copy everything and modify your loan controller like this. Okay, save it and just remove this resource not found exception and import from the proper package. Okay, so this resource not found exception is present in loan controllers itself as of now, so we are not getting any issues. So similarly, you can go to your user controller and select everything and add exception handling, and GitHub Copilot is take care your exception handling scenarios. So it created an exceptional handler annotation which will handle all the exceptions in the REST API. So if you get any exception in the REST API, everything will go to this @exceptional handler, and it will send response that will understand by the HTTP. Okay, so just copy your users and just replace your users with the new users class, and just remove the unnecessary imports and packages. Right, just tweak your code and change until it works. And you have some issue with HTTP status, just go to quick fix and import that HTTP from Spring Boot. That's it. Right? Now you are able to do this. Even in loan controller, we're having that issue. We just missed it. So go to quick fix and import the HTTP status from the Spring Core framework. Done. So we created controllers also. Now we'll go back to our PowerPoint and see another thing. So custom methods for more flexibility. For example, you can able to see it in the loan controller itself. We have get mapping, put mapping, and delete mapping, right? So we are deleting based on the ID. Okay, so if you want to handle this further in a different way, for example, just select this and control I and say replace delete loan with another method which will delete loan based on user remove the loan. So we'll see how it will work. So now this whole thing has been replaced by this new code, that is remove loan for user. Now we'll get the user ID, and now we'll find the user ID, and we'll get the loans based on the user ID, and we'll delete all. So we accept it, and even it has some error. Since loan repository dot find user ID is not there, so you have to import the other uh, repository. So here just type control I auto where user repository and click enter, and GitHub Copilot will auto where your user repository. Just import your user repository here. So user repository has been imported. Now use your user repository to find the user based on the ID, and once, and we need to change this method. So quick fix change to find by ID. Yeah, find by ID, it will return list of loans. So there will be some issue here, this code won't work. So you have an user ID in your loan, there is nothing but user, and by using this user you will get a list of loans inside the user controller. So it should not be find by user ID. User repository dot find by ID, and change your thing to optional of user. Okay, now you have a user. We'll call it as a user, and from the user you will get the loans, right? The GitHub Copilot is suggesting now just type tab, right? List of loans. Now we are getting the loans for a user, and you can able to delete the loans. So like this, you can customize your method by using GitHub Copilot. So for customization, something sometimes it will take some time, and you need some practice. Even I'm also just getting confused sometimes for these customizations. Okay, so we'll see the next step. So what was the next step? JUnits creation using Copilot. So how to create JUnits for all these classes? So the main classes you want to create JUnits is loan controller and user controller. So go to your test package and go to your loan API test, right? Just do one thing, just remove everything and control I and write ask to create JUnits for both loan and user controllers in this class itself. Okay, we'll see how it will create the tests. So using slash test to generate response. So it's asking to use slash tests. So just slash tests and click enter. So what it didn't say is, could you please provide the code snippets from the loan and risk controllers? View in chart. So go to chart and GitHub will create those classes. So you have to add this comment in the chart box, not in a quick chart. Okay. So here click enter. Now inside this loan API test itself, it will create and generate test cases for both the user controller and the loan controller. So now if you see here, it is trying to create those tests. It is marking some of the dependencies which need, right? Which is marking, yeah, API calls and everything, and it has written JUnits for us. So it just mocked everything. So it simply created a JUnits for us. So I'm not going in detail with all these things, right? One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to first copy and paste this thing here and save it. And we need to add the package also. So in the quick fix, add your package, and you can able to see, right, everything is okay, no issues here, and there will be some unused things. So you can do is you can remove those two things and save your code, and now we are fine with it. Now try to run this the file. So run test in the current file and close it, and you can able to see, right, it's running tests, and go to test results. We're able to get all the loans, we're able to get all the users, we'll get loan by ID, get user by ID. So all of the test cases it has given, all test cases has been passed. Now I'm going to test my API. So before that, we'll go to our PPT and see what was the next method, right? Logging using Copilot. Okay, we'll add logging also. So for that, go to your Copilot chart and ask, I want to enable logging in both the controllers, and we'll see how it will create a logging for us. So to enable logging, we can use SL4J library, and inside our log controller, we can add this method and also use that method to get the loggers. Okay, and even user controller also, you can add this logger factory get logger, and you can use this method. So I'm not going to do this, right? You can able to do this thing also. This is just for an example, and GitHub Copilot is creating logs for us, and also it is giving more information along with dependencies also. So you can use this dependencies add into your code and get turned on your logging also. So I'm not going to do that, but yeah, you can do logging also. So I'm just showing you. So I'm going to my PPT back, and I'm going to see the next point. Now we have to do API testing manually. Okay, fine. Go to your Visual Studio Code editor. First thing what we are going to do is we're going to run our application. To run our application, few things we need to ensure is our H2 database is set up or not, right? So go here and see the H2 is ready. So as we see earlier, we need to add properties, right? Go to source, main, resources, and go to application.properties and add your properties here. So good. If you want to add properties also, go here and ask, give me properties to add in my application.properties using H2, and for my rest controllers. Okay, we'll see how GitHub Copilot will give you the properties. So for application, it is giving application properties. For H2, it's giving this data source and H2 console, and GPA, it's giving some show SQL and auto update. And for even logging, it is giving some properties. So you can use these properties. Okay, So remember to replace your data source URL, username and password with your own values. The above values just for testing purpose. That is fine. Since we are using the in-memory database, we can use these things. Just copy this thing and paste it in your properties file and save it. Okay, now we'll try to run our application. So I'm going to my controller first and I'm going to run my code. So right click and we have run test, debug test. Okay, I'm going to the main class now. The main class is loan API.java and right clicking here and I'm going to do is run Java and wait for something. Now you can able to see right my Spring application is started and we have some error, right? It's saying the port 8080 was already in use. That means we need to change the port. So we'll do one thing, we'll go to application.properties and we'll say server.port as 8081 since 8080 is already occupied. Save it and again go to main application and try to run as Java and wait and see. Now this will run properly. Okay, there is some issues here. We'll see what is the issue. So it's failing, but our application is running properly. Okay, we'll see what is this JDBC issues. I think we have configured some things improperly. Error creating executed DDL. So we have some issues while creating the models. So there was some issues in the model. So go to your loan. So you're creating an entity called loan and which has ID, amount, username and tenure, which has a user ID. That is the join column and go to user and we have long user ID. Yes, we have user ID also. Just map fail. But still it's failing. So we'll use this failures to ask GitHub Copilot why it's failing. Okay, so we'll do one thing. We'll use this exception trace. So copy it and go to this GitHub Copilot and paste it and see how it will understand the error and create solution for us. The error message indicates there is a syntax error in the SQL statement for creating the user table. The issue is that user is the third keyword in many SQL dialects, including H2. To fix this issue, you can use different name for your user entity table. You can there was some user entity which was already available for most of the tables, so we need to change our table name to user. So we'll do one thing. We'll copy this annotation and go to our model. Okay, this is our user model. So here instead of we keep the name as user, but it is indicates as users. Okay, and also whenever you are using, so that is fine now. So just you need to add this at the rate table and import that package. Now we'll try to run our application by stopping the existing one. Okay, clear the terminal by using clear. Now we'll try to run our application one more time. Go to main method and right click run Java. And you can able to see that our application starting without any error and application started and running and it's created to our two tables and we'll see these tables are up and running by using go to the URL and here I would have the 8081 instead of 8080. Go here and password should be password only and we connect. So we'll go and check for the password in our application. Go to Explorer and go to application.properties and copy your password, right? And also this JDBC URL and connect it. So you can able to see now we connected to this table. this in memory table, and you have this loan, and also you have users. Okay, so if I double click on loan, it is giving this thing, and if I run it, loan does not have any value. And if I double click on the users, if I run, users don't have any values. Now we'll try to insert some values into these things. So we'll go to Postman. So I have opened my Postman. Now I will try to insert some values into my loans and users. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my GitHub Copilot to create me some requests. So I'm going to GitHub Copilot. So ask it create the user post request for me. Okay, we'll see whether it will create or not. So here it is giving some post request. I think it's giving some code. So we need to be more specific. So we'll do one thing, create user post request to test my API. So we'll see now. You can use, and you can use still the car, or you can use some Postman. It is saying, okay, you can pass this thing to this. So it's given this thing, right? It's saying you can use a tool like Carl, Postman, or HTTP. Here is how we can do it, right? It's showing the content type, and use this username text user and call this thing. So we'll do one thing, we'll just copy this API and go to our Postman, paste it here and mark it as post. Okay, in the body section, click on raw, and in the raw you just select JSON. Okay, so go back to GitHub Copilot, and it is saying to use this thing, this JSON body as your request. So copy it and go here, paste your request like this. So what you are going to do is you are sending a post request for this API with this JSON body. So we'll do one thing here. It's not 8080, it is 8081. So click on send, and you can able to see that we didn't get any issues because we're able to create successfully a user. Now we'll go to the DB and check whether it's working fine or not. In the H2 console, I'm going to do a self start from users and run. One user has been entered here. Like that, you can add second user, third user, fourth user, and go to your table and select. You can able to see all these users here. So similarly, we can add a loan also. So go to your GitHub Copilot. So create post request for my loan post API to test. Okay, just click on it and we'll wait for the GitHub Copilot to create a post request for me. So here it is saying the same thing, and from this command we can able to get what we have to do, right? So here what it is saying, enter some loan amount and also user ID to this particular loans API. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this API and going to my Postman, right? I'm going to create one more tab here, which is for loans, which will send to the 8081 port, and also which is a post request. In the body, I'm going to select raw, which is of type JSON, and I'm going back here. I'm going to select these things. User ID is 1. So I'm going back here and pasting it. In the user ID, for the user ID 1, I'm saying the loan amount 5,000. Okay, and we'll go to our loan model and see whether we can able to insert some other. values, right? You can add amount. You can add still the username and tenure also. So those things also will try to add the username, right? We'll try now. So I'm going to send it and it created an ID with amount null, username tell tenure none. So how to send this? Right? We need to provide some amount 5,000 username tenure 500 here and it created an user with these details. So go back to our H2 console and try to get from the loan. Okay, just double click here and select from the loan and you can able to see right some value inserted here. So like this you can able to create your REST APIs and make it work, right? You can select other methods also. So this is a demo app how it creates the users and loans, right? I am not going everything in a very detailed manner, so just simply I just experimented it and it's working. So you can use this GitHub Copilot and create your full-fledged API which will work end to end, right? So that's it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And by using this new feature, the AI feature, good GitHub Copilot, we can achieve more productivity like never before. And thanks for watching my video.